Who actually has an argument, not here to participate only, who actually has something to say about this? Okay. So if you're using social media does more good, stay on this side, more harm, stay on that side. Got the split in half. Trying to see if you can. Research about actually did research. And I have case studies on human relationships. That's two sides. There's more. Actually, not everyone's fault. This is like my sheet. So it's easy. I'm going to go for more. Mine must be. Yeah, me too. You were giving such like lawyer CEO. I can't. No, it's so good. You're good at that. Miss L was right here. The pink is vibing too. I'm like, come on. Really different. Still beach, still summery, so it's like that is actually. So again, guys, social media does more good than harm that side, more harm than good that side. If you're going to actually say something, just listen, that's fine. Well, it's there, right here. Oh,
Yes. What's your question? Which one is more harm than good? Which side?
Signs.
This side is more good than harm. That side is more harm than good.
Yeah, I'll give this amazing thing.
And if you sit in the middle, then you can choose later.
Being like that stubborn.
Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and get started because I want to give you all plenty of time to talk. I just want to introduce the Center for American Studies and Research at AUC. I'm Assistant Professor Mark Deets. I'm actually a professor in the history department. I'm a professor of African history and world history here at AUC. But I'm also the new director of the Center for American Studies and Research. And this is my very able assistant, Yasmeen El-Ghazaly, who's set up this debate. So just very quickly, I'd like to give you a little background for the Center for American Studies and Research. The center was established by Prince AlWaleed of the Saudi royal family in 2003 after the attacks of 9/11, 2001, to build cultural understanding between the Middle East and America. And so in order to do this, he created a number of university study centers, 2 here in the Middle East, 1 here at AUC, the other is at AUB in Beirut. Those are American Study Centers, trying to kind of translate American history, culture, and politics to people here in the Middle East. There are 4 centers in the West. 1 is at Cambridge, 1 is at Edinburgh, 1 is at Harvard, and 1 is at Georgetown. And those are all Islamic study centers. They're trying to translate Middle Eastern culture to people in the West. So this is all about trying to foster cultural understanding, but also to make good arguments. And one of the things that is an aspect of American culture and the political system is the idea of a good debate. And unfortunately, in American politics, this is starting to break down somewhat. Debate in good faith, starting to break down somewhat. But it's something that we want to continue to work on here. And so we've created this series of debates for you all to be able to address some of these hot topics, starting with today's about the nature of social media. And so we welcome you to that. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say. We look forward to hearing your ideas. So really, there's a small time limit. We don't have a whole lot of time for every single person to be able to say what they want, but we're going to try to give you as much time as possible. And I just ask that you be respectful of each other. Whether you agree or disagree with whoever is speaking, I ask you to respect the human dignity of each person in this room. Yes, sir.
And please ask for your name.
My name is Mark Deets. Mark Deets. I'm a professor in the history department and the new director of CASAR. Okay? Right. Yes,
Okay. So try to limit to 1 minute per person, just so we have enough time. If you actually have an argument to say. Now, start by saying your name, harm or good, and your argument. Who wants to start? Hands up, wants to start. Right, go ahead. Your name?
Leila Mamdouh. I'm on the harm.
Yeah, can we ask the speaker to stand, please? Yes.
Sure. All right. I personally believe that the effect that social media has is more harm than good, because as somebody who uses social media a lot and was quite introduced to it a little bit late, the impact is degenerative. You find that you spend a lot more time than you want to, scrolling on TikTok, a very obvious meme. And even the whole idea of comparing yourself to what other people live like on TikTok, you see these people that are always like posting their great lives. And as much as you might say to yourself, oh, this is not going to impact me, they're living their life, I'm living my own life, subconsciously, it has such an effect on you that for me, it was like, I'm hating my entire life and I want to change everything about me or everything. I need to buy all these kind of products or whatever, so that I can feel like I'm finally living like the perfect life that TikTok or Instagram makes out to be. And so that's why I find that, like, although it's great for connections and it's great to see what people are up to, a lot of the time people aren't using it for just that. They're using it for a lot of social comparisons, which in the end makes everyone in their own like gloomy center hating themselves or hating things about themselves, which is like a very big negative impact it has on us as individuals and as a society as a whole. That's my argument.
All right, thank you.
Question.
Yes, please.
Are we allowed to talk back, yes, or reply back instantly, or what? What's the
It's not, I don't know the time. Well, it depends on the time that we have, maybe.
counter arguments?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be like a certain amount of sort of natural responses. People who are going later will be able to respond to those going earlier. But thank you very much, Layla, for being brave and standing up and being the first one to respond. But yes, we hope that you'll respond. We intend for this to be a conversation, and yet we have so many people who'd like to speak that we're going to try to kind of keep it moving, rather than just allow for like an immediate kind of debate or conversation, if that makes sense.
You want to go next, you guys? All right.
So yeah, from this side though, right?
All right.
To hear an opposing point of view from those who think that it's more good than harm. Yes, please.
Name?
Yes, please stand up if you don't mind, and try to project your voice, even though it's a large room.
My name is Monia, and I think that it would be unfair to only look at social media in a way of like how people look at each other. I think there's so much more importance to social media, like the awareness of like social political things in the world. So for example, the Palestinian case, I think a lot of us wouldn't have even understood most of it if it wasn't on social media and there was no awareness for it. So I think it's to look at it from a surface level of I think would be very selfish for the betterment of the world. There's so much more to look at. I think social media does a lot of good, again, for awareness. Most human rights, social, political, economic problems in the world. I think it's much more influential to look at it from this side than just the like, surface level views.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, please go ahead and state your name.
My name is Youmna, and I think social media does more harm than good. Okay. If I ask you guys to hold up your phone, what app will you use? TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. If I ask you guys to hold up your phones, what app will you use right now? You'll open TikTok, you'll open Instagram, maybe Snapchat, maybe even WhatsApp, which is a social media app. And even though it is helpful, like, what's her name, sorry? Monia, like Monia said, sometimes we do get accurate information regarding news outlets and things that are happening around us. But sometimes it does the opposite effect by influencing the media and telling us false facts or false news in which we perceive as true. And therefore we act upon it to impact a greater scale of things. Social media and media outlets is not something that's simply true all the time. We can influence them on our own. We have our own opinions, and we influence. When we make a post about the Israeli-Palestinian case, we have our own opinion. We're sort of emotional regarding it, whether we're with or against. We're emotional, and we impact other people's views. For example, if I give my view on the topic, Palestinian-Israeli topic, and Layla sees it, right? Layla's gonna go, oh, well, she's right in some perspective, because I'm emotional. I'm making her agree with me. I'm biased. I'm not accurate. Okay. To add to what Layla said, social media is not just negative because it makes us compare each other. And it's not just negative because it makes us think, oh, well, she's better than me. I need this or that. It's also negative because it actually increased depression and suicide rates. And there's research about it. There's certain percentages that's besides talking emotionally, we're talking scientifically. It is affecting negatively. It's negatively affecting us. It's making us doubt ourselves, and it's leading us to a cycle of not just depression, but also anxiety, increased maybe aggression towards certain topics. And all of this is impacting us negatively and not positively.
And from this side, what would then harm?
Okay, back to this side. Somebody, yeah, something to add? Please stand up and state your name.
Yes, my name is Ibrahim Nim. I do think it does more harm.
Name again, sorry?
Ibrahim Nim.
Ibrahim.
Yes.
Yes.
I do think it does more harm than good. And I think the arguments made on the other side would make sense if Facebook was a non-profit or if Instagram was a non-profit, but they're not. I think I'm not saying that the technology is wrong, but I'm saying the fact is that Facebook or Meta is one of the largest companies we have today. And they've engineered a system where the attention of people is the commodity, and they have found a way because their profits depend on attention. Their ultimate goal is profits. And you know that they've engineered it, even if it causes divisive content, even if it causes depression, which it does, even if it has negative effects. Instagram is a money-making machine. And I think the result of this is that truth is sold to the highest bidder. That's why today in the US, The reason why half of the US population thinks the election was stolen is because the president was using Twitter. It would not happen if social media didn't exist. So I think it's not the technology is okay. It's the fact that it's the largest companies in the world using this technology to pump out profits with the ad system. And I think it's very obvious what it's done on, on a level of just individuals and mental health and on a society as a whole. It's ripping democracy apart. Yeah.
Okay, any responses from More Good Than Harm?
All right,
yes, please. Please state your name. Pardon me?
Actually, social media is good. People should get aware that there are in this world people that try to influence others. So it's not actually without social media, people are being like doing the same thing without being actually aware of what is happening in the world. People should get aware of what is happening and should get aware that there are companies that try to influence others and they use many means and many ads and Facebook pages and companies to influence people. So any person in the world should become immune against these companies, and that is the best thing about social media. That some people get scammed and get trapped and trapped, but in the other side, something immune and get to know what's really happening in the world.
Next, yes, please.
Yeah. Well, we can pretend that we are immune, like you said, to the influences of social media, but we're not. We're really not. Even Layla said it, we're subconsciously aware of everything that's happening. We see a post and we're like, oh, okay, well, she looks pretty in that. Maybe this hairstyle will work for me as well. We're affected, even if it's subconscious, even if we don't know it. We are influenced. We see an ad about a product, okay, and maybe we don't even like the product. It's not going to be of use to us. But subconsciously, we lean towards buying it. We want to buy it. We want to try it out, right? This is our excuse. We're going to try out the new product. But it's not really trying that out. We are influenced. We're seeing a post. Tom Hanks, for example, he posted something about a very good product in his own opinion, which is obviously not. Most of these ads are actually paid so that the advertisers actually say a few scripted lines so that we are influenced to buy the product. And when we buy the product, we don't really get the product that is influenced. We get sort of, how do I say this? Way less. It's way less than what we expect. We expect this high product is gonna heal acne, and then we try it on and it causes acne. We don't look at the details. We're just influenced. This product heals acne. I'm gonna buy it and try it out, but it doesn't. If we go to a doctor and ask, okay, what about this? No, we don't. We just see it. Oh, this girl, she got healed. Okay, I'm gonna buy it as well. But that's not how social media should be. In fact, if we look at the past, before social media had this, news, we're told we had media outlets. Everything was through the TV, old TV, 1, 2 channels. You guys remember that? And this was just it. And we didn't even know some of it. It was not as greatly influenced as our TV. We are influenced by what we see and what we hear. And us being on social media 24 hours is impacting how we view the world, how we view ourselves.
You're making a very interesting connection between emotions and capitalism, and how capitalism is playing on emotions. I mean, it's kind of and you keep using this term products, which is why I started thinking about capitalism. How are we getting those products? What emotions is it meant to bring out? Which I guess is kind of the goal of good advertising, right? Yes, sir. Please stand up and say your name and your opinion.
Hi, my name is Ali. I just wanted to respond to your argument. You said that we're heavily influenced by social media and the products and everything. But in my point of view, it's I can't say it's a good argument about the influence because no one forced you to buy the product, no one, because according to your feed, it's everything that you're interested in, everything that shows up, you're interested in. So I didn't, what's, for example, a meal or a takeout or something, a place you don't like to eat in? KFC. So if you saw every day a KFC ad, is this gonna go and influence you to go to this place?
Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Even if you don't like KFC?
Everyone's talking about this new meal, like it's a new sandwich.
No, I'm saying in general. Saying something you like. I'm talking about the feed, your social media feed. Everything you're interested in. Instagram, TikTok, everything that you're interested in shows up on your feed.
Can I respond?
Okay, not yet. Let's get another voice in here.
I try to help you. Are you done?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Amina.
Amina?
I'm a graduate student here at AUC. I first want to lay down the statement that also to respond to my two mates here. We're not debating if social media is good or bad. We know that social media is good. It helped us. It helped us in the process of democratization. It helped us in globalization. Thanks to social media that we have more access to free and good quality education. We're not debating that. We are debating if it causes more harm than good. And I come from this team. I just want to tell you that in my own opinion, and I think it's quite of an objective opinion, social media does more harm than good for a very mere reason, which is depression. We have seen that depression has been increasing from the fourth reason of human suffering to the first one in 2020. And this goes along with the increasing use of social media, the universal use, which is quite of a very new phenomenon to the path and the history of humanity. So depression in its core clinical sense, it has been increasing because of social media. Why? I will tell you why, and then you can respond. Why? Because these companies, when we talk about Meta and other companies in social media, they are very evil in knowing how the human brain works. We're talking about neuroplasticity here. We're talking about people who know that your brain is going to be rewarded just by the click of a like on your screen. So we're talking about people who know very well how this human brain works. It's not individual choice to use social media most of the time. I find this idea very romantic and very dreamy. We're talking about mass monitoring. We're talking about companies that have this sort of branches and actually arms going through our lives to control how much time we spend on our screens, which is very crazy. And this is why now we do look like each other. They are promoting for diversity. They are promoting for individualistic traits in human beings. But now you can see that we eat the same things. We were like each other. We are influenced by the same people in some sense. So I can't see that social media is better in any sense. And yeah, if you have a response to
yes, I can respond to
how
that.
they get around our neuroplastic brains, that would be appreciated.
I wanted to ask you a few questions.
Ali. Next week, Youmna back in here, and then you can respond to both. Fair enough?
Because I don't want to forget the question that I just want to, because she was talking about something about, like you said, capitalism, and then she mentioned depression and everything gets mixed up,
There's a room full of 60 people who will help you remember. Okay. All right, go ahead, Youmna.
About the influence thing. I mean,
go ahead.
About the influence. How does the feed know what I like? It's not what I like, it's what I stay most on. It doesn't mean that I like it. You can hate a video and look at it multiple times, you're like, ew, what is this? And you stay on it like, what, 3 minutes on a TikTok that's like 30 seconds, right? Okay. That's how many times you watch it. When you scroll down, you find others like it, right? So it's not what you like, it's what you pause on, it's what you watch, it's what you waited for, okay? And it doesn't, we're talking about the technology that doesn't understand, it's not seeing you, okay? So it's not seeing your face when you say ew, no? Okay, it's like, okay, you paused, you stayed here 3 minutes. Okay, I'll give you another video to stay another 3 minutes, right? Like it's not what you like that's shown. It's how much you stayed on it previously that's affecting what you see on your upcoming feed and your next video. And your next, for example, let's say the KFC example. I don't have KFC on my Instagram, but if I do, okay, and I pause on it, I'm like, ew, this guy's actually eating KFC. That tastes bad. Like I taste bad. For me, it tastes bad. And I'm like, does she actually like it? And then I look through the comments and everyone's like, yeah, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. This whole time, I'm sitting on this video for like 2 minutes minimum, okay? And then I move on and I try another stuff. And then it shows up again, the same, not the same video, but the same sandwich, for example. And then I look at the comments again and it's like, oh my God, this is so good. I am intrigued to try it out. Even though I know I'm just like, I want to try it out. It's pure human nature that we want to try things that others say are good, right? When, for example, let's say, if someone told you that this doctor is an easy grader, okay, you're instinct, oh my God, he's an easy grader. Let me go with him, right? Even though you've never tried him, you don't know if he's an easy grader or not. You've heard him. You're influenced by this, but maybe he's not. Maybe it was just a personal opinion regarding.
Okay, Ali, it's yeah.
I'm going to respond really quickly to you, and then I'm going to jump back to you. You can compare a KFC sandwich to a professor. That's the first thing, and that's a sandwich. That's the first thing. And liking the professor doesn't have to do with getting a good grade, or maybe focusing in class, or maybe it has to do with focusing in class, but it doesn't have to do if you're interested in the topic. And maybe you don't, if you hate the professor personally, it does not have to have a direct effect on your performance in class.
Can I just say correct something?
Can I just?
Yeah, let him finish and then you can respond.
Then the other KFC, say I agree with you that you paused on something and you didn't like it, and people kept talking about it, this sandwich is really great, I need to try it. And then you tried it, then you didn't like it. If this ads show up again on your feed, you're going to keep looking at it, or you're just going to, because you already know that's the same thing, it's not going to show up again because you didn't pause at it. By your argument, you said that everything I pause at is going to show up. So you already tried it. And then you're going to see it again because that's what the advertisements on social media do. They just keep showing up. Depending on, I say your interest, you say on pausation or maybe concentration, or if you didn't, it's not going to show up because you already tried it. So we fixed this problem. Then the depression part. I'm a minor in psychology, and I took a course called psychopathology. So, when we talked about depression, that we said that the main reason people have depression, or the most people who ends up having depression or developing depression, always had an onset problem or something that had a problem, for example, or they had family problems. They experienced something that's tragic, or a problem happened in their life that led for them to having depression, or something else after this bad experience, for example, triggered the depression. So that doesn't mean that the main cause for depression is social media. Or I agree with you that maybe with the advancement of technology and with social media, that people can get influenced badly or develop something, but it's not mainly because of social media. It's because maybe something happened before it. Maybe they experienced something. So it's not the main reason. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, wow, I'm getting a lot of hands now. Voices that we haven't heard yet, and we've got one on this side of the room.
Yeah, but I actually wanted to.
You're actually wanting to respond to what they're saying.
Yeah,
okay.
but I'm not.
Would you mind standing and stating your name, please?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Farida, and I wanted to respond to your point. Yeah. Whilst like social media might not be the exact root of the cause of depression, it's a powerful trigger. Like if you constantly see things that remind you of things that, for example, let's say you lost a family member. Constantly, for example, on Mother's Day, everyone will be posting their mother. How would you feel? And you're just like, oh, I'll delete the app.
but you're more inclined to have these apps just because other people have them.
Can I respond really quickly?
We got, unfortunately, Ali, we have so many hands. I'd like to kind of move on to get some other voices into the discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, you're forced to kind of keep using these apps that show you other people's lives. Thing is, even if you say, okay, I'll delete it this time, you'll re-download it again, because we as humans, we're more inclined to feel like we're part of a group. And if everyone has the same app, you're gonna get a fear of missing out. You're gonna want to be part of that group. You wouldn't want to feel excluded. So, but that would damage you. I would agree that it would cause depression somehow, but it might not be the root of the problem. But constantly reminding you of that issue would definitely make it even more severe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to.
Can you please stand and say your name, please?
You're the loudest person here, so might as well, right? My name is Muhammad Tore, and currently I'm going to be with harm over good.
Okay.
I found something really interesting that you said. The fact that most of the time when people get depression because of social media, it's because they have an underlying basis of like something's going on with their life, right? But that is how most problems start, right? For example, if somebody smokes, right, there are people who are more likely to develop lung cancer than others. But does that mean that the cigarette is safe? Does that mean that it's okay? No. And with something like cigarettes, right, all you have to do is stop smoking, right? It's addictive. But there are people who are ready to help you, and you don't have to smoke. It's not societally pressured for you to smoke. However, to have connections with your friends, to know about the current news, to connect with people in your own age, you have to be on social media. You have to put that cigarette in your mouth and you have to smoke it. You don't have a choice if you want to be connected with everybody around you. And that's the issue with social media. At the end of the day, you are the product, and anything that happens to you is irrelevant as long as you keep clicking, as long as you keep watching.
Ali, I know you want to get back in there. Just a second. Yes, please. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Aisha, and I know this debate is very interesting, but I want to draw your attention to another thing in social media, and that's hate speech. Nowadays, I think we are in a time in history that people are able to attack and say mean things more than any time before. Because those platforms give you this wall that you think you are isolated, your identity is covered, and you just can be inhuman and say very bad things to others. And even not saying, not commenting, not sending, but by sharing a personal story, a personal mistake, a scandal, and make that human being's life the worst overnight. And the societal thoughts and the societal incidents that you guys mentioned before, that's because a lot of them are because the hate speech. And I'm saying is that human beings are evil by nature, because I'm kind of realistic, but those platforms are just fostering this nature. And for example, you can notice if your mother is sharing your graduation ceremony's photo and someone is sharing your photo doing something very bad, what will get really shared and spread out? You being in your vulnerable situation. So that's why I feel very empathetic with, especially with content creators and social media influencers and people who go viral without their consent, without being, without, like they don't want actually to be like that. And I will give you this advice to watch a TED Talk by Monica Lewinsky. We all know her, of course, with her incident with President Bill Clinton, but you know, Monica's incident was in the first year of internet, was in 1998. And she said that that was the fault in my stars, because everyone else had scandals in their history. Everyone else did a lot of mistakes, but that one thing went viral. Until now, people have her photos everywhere. So just, I want to remind you of that. And yeah, this is one harm that we still cannot have the measures to protect it, to guarantee the safety of people, because simply we are just trying the internet police and the platforms, but still we cannot encounter this.
In terms of reality here, it seems. Yes, you right here, yeah.
I have some notes, I hope that's okay. My name is Isabella Peters, and my answer to the question is yes, that social media does more harm than good, but I thought the question was a little vague, so I decided to narrow it down and just answer it within the context of my life and my peers' life, which would be social media doing more harm to young adults and specifically students. So I have kind of two supporting points for this. First is that of self-harm, and second is of academic performance. And of course, my reasoning is that, like, although I recognize the importance of professional skills and business skills that social media may teach, I think these 2 points prove that social media does more harm. So the first one is self-harm. And according to the study I found from the National Research Ethics Service, an increase in usage in social media among youth coincided with an increase in self-harm. And I also concluded that this was to do with cyberbullying, or what people call as electronic aggression. In today's digital age, where social media is very hard to monitor, as my colleague pointed out, was that people can mask verbal abuse behind a handle or behind a fake profile picture, and they can get away with saying things that won't get them canceled or banned from social media. They will continue to verbally abuse young people. And that leads me to the second one. Not only does it have to do with self-harm, it also has to do with academic performance. So there's a published AUC master's thesis published last year that spoke of a study that was done on academic performance and the link of social media usage with Egyptian university students. And 60% of the students themselves acknowledged that their increased use in social media also negatively impacted their academic performance. So because I value mental health and I also value academic performance for myself and for you as my peers, I urge you to agree with me that social media does more harm than good.
Okay, yes, back to you, sir.
Yes, I was.
Please stand.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to respond to you that regarding the whole KFC thing and the and the fact that the idea that you can't change someone's opinion. There's an entire field called digital marketing, social media marketing. The entire point of that is that you can change people's opinions. It's not like a single thing. People's behaviors too. Like, yes, if I had a lot of money in ad spend, I could make you go to KFC. I'm 100% certain of. Also, did anyone watch The Social Dilemma? It's a documentary. Raise your hand if you saw it. Yeah, okay, so that documentary, it had people from Facebook, from these social media companies, showing how they engineered attention. They found a way to manipulate people's attention, and it makes them money. I mean, Facebook was subject to a lawsuit because they interfered with an election. It's been shown. Mark Zuckerberg, who's not really like fully human, but he was there. He was there, and this actually happened, and they actually did this. The idea that we still think that social media doesn't influence us or any control, it's just not true. They have teams doing this, not one person, not a few people. So I think it should be regulated by the government. And I think right now, given what's happening in the United States, people are realizing this is an issue, and you can't just leave it unregulated. It's like leaving something very powerful, very potentially destructive, unregulated.
I'm looking back to you because so many people are arguing with things that you've said, which in my world of being an academic is actually a good thing. If people want to argue with you, that's actually a good thing. The people who don't do well in my job, it's like people who are like, yeah, I don't really care what they're saying. It's not important. So anyway, go ahead and stand and
so I just wanted to, I think a lot of people are confused on what my opinion is on the question, does social media do more harm or good? What I think is to everyone is social media does good and does harm. I agree with this. I agree with you, it does harm. I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay, but the point is, you talked about cigarettes and stopping smoking, and the social media is harmful and everything. If you think about it, everything has a pro and has a con. Like, for example, if you think of a car has its pros. It's a way of transportation, fast transportation, and has its cons. You can die in a car crash. Does this mean I'm going to stop using a car? And you said the fear of missing out. You talked about the fear of missing out. If I can't drive, for example, or of course you can. You don't have the ability of not being able to use social media, but you cannot stop. You cannot stop because something is harmful. I mean, you can stop smoking cigarettes, but you can't. Like I can't remember who said it. And social media is integrated to everything in our world now. We can't stop. You don't have the option. So you can choose. Like I said, you can choose to ignore the ads. You can choose to ignore the cons. You can choose to not have an accident with your car. The fear of missing out. You talked about if someone saw a Mother's Day and his mother passed away and everything. I'm gonna ask you a question. If he deleted previously, he deleted social media and he didn't see any post, will he not be informed about the day of Mother's Day? He will. That's not the point. If it's shoved in his face everywhere. Yes, sure. He's gonna. I agree with you. Like I said, I agree. It has its cons. Yes, but is that gonna prevent him from being sad, having depression, or it has its cons? Because something is harmful doesn't mean I'm gonna stop using it because I don't have a choice. That's what I'm saying. Yes, it does have its cons, but you can't stop. You can choose to ignore it or try to reinforce maybe your mind. You're not triggering, for example, depression. You can choose to escape from something you don't like. You don't have to see it. It has to do with you. You know, you can harm yourself also like consuming media. There's good media and there's bad media. For example, I'm the average TikTok user. I can spend like 6 hours a day or maybe more on TikTok. But my feed or the stuff I choose to consume is something beneficial. For example, I learn a lot about capitalism or finance, even though I'm a CMA and minor psychology major. Because I'm interested, for example, in knowing how currency works, how world finance works. That's my interest. For example, if I saw something like silly TikToks, for example, like we see on Egyptian streets and everything, the guy who dances with the video and everything, that's not what I'm interested in. I can choose to avoid that or escape that. So maybe I say everything is in your hand.
Yeah. Okay. I know Amina wants to get back in here. Go back over to this side, and then I want to come back over to Amina and Layla. She was our first speaker. Go ahead.
Okay, I have things to answer that. I'm going to start with the suicide and depression one. The world war, both of them. Great Depression, the socio-economic problems of the early 2000s. The suicide rates were insane. There was no social media back then. Social media and suicide and depression, they're correlation, not causation. The fact that you even have suicidal thoughts, that means you're already depressed. You don't need to be on social media. Again, the point of no one's forcing you to open your social media and look at it. With the triggers thing as well, if we're, as a society, we're so sensitive to triggers, some of us are sensitive to triggers, so that means no one is supposed to be on social media. No one's supposed to post their mothers on social media, so no one celebrates it. You have to think about the majority, not the minority. And with the beauty influence, before social media, our grandmothers and our grandparents, their beauty standards were insane. Like women starved themselves before social media was even a thing. There was magazines, there were celebrities, Marilyn Monroe, they all looked at her as a beauty standard, and she was not realistic. Like that was not a realistic body issue. And the most important thing is I feel like we need to look at social media from the bigger picture and not just insecurities and cosmetic industry or products or the algorithm or whatever. If there was no social media, none of this generation would be so aware of 2011 as a revolution in our country. As a political science major, I wouldn't even been interested in political science if I didn't know what my country went through and the democracy. And most of this generation is so aware of, I guess, what happened in our history because of social media. I feel like if we just put aside for like a few minutes the things that we can control, I can control what I look at. I can control that my Instagram is all makeup or models or whatever it is. I can ignore that and I can focus on my own democracy. I can focus on whatever. These are personal choices. But at the end of the day, without social media, if you imagine a world without social media, genuinely none of us would be so invested in our own democracy and our human rights and our country as a whole. I feel like they're just so like these little school problems that I don't mean anything, but they don't matter. If something triggers you, you shouldn't be on social media. You're so sensitive that everything is going to trigger you in the world.
Okay, let's come back over here. I said Amina and then Layla, and then we'll go on from there. Yeah.
I want to start first by sort of re-establishing the logic of this debate, and I'm sorry for the arrogant word, I just can't find an alternative. I have spotted that we have fallen into this logical fallacy, which is the red herring policy, a few times here. When we started discussing if social media is good or bad, that's not the debate. When we started discussing the reasons for depression, like I would be so happy as someone who have experienced depression, I would be so happy to know what's the reason number one for depression. We still don't know. And we have also fallen into discussing if depression was there or not. Yes, there was depression during the World War and in other periods of human history. But actually what made it Great Depression back then was media. That's why it was contagious, because people could see what's happening at a bigger level. If we were still living in an era where people are isolated in small villages, no one would feel it as Great Depression. Back then we had newspapers. That's why it was that contagious. So depression goes along with media. And now we have words, we have social media. It's no longer controlled by people who are elite enough and educated enough to supervise the content. Anyone can just go along and publish anything and you can see it anywhere. So I just want to go back to the topic of the debate and the logical path of it. We are discussing if social media does more harm than good or not. That's what we are discussing. And I still say that it does more harm, and this is basically the language of numbers. The World Health Organization has been stating that, as I told you, depression has been moving from the fourth reason to human suffering. We're talking about universal human suffering. Someone who's there in the north suffering from the same mental health problems as someone in the south. And this is so new. Why? What links between the two people? Social media. That's the only thing that we have in common. That's the only thing that is influencing everyone in the world now. So back to you about we having a choice. I'm so sorry to tell you that no, we don't. At a mass level, we do not have a choice. We are monitored, we are controlled, because those companies have specialists, have scientists who understand that basically our brains work under biases and influences such as the reward system. We just like instant, fast rewards. That's why Facebook was a thing back then, because it had the like button. That's the only new thing about Facebook back then. And also we have what we call cognitive bias. One of these biggest biases is negativity bias. That's why you see people interacting more with negative content, with crisis here and there, with scandals, with very inhuman, dehumanizing phenomena such as pornography on social media and other websites. So these companies know exactly what they are dealing with. They are dealing with basic brains, not elites, not a very well-educated, sophisticated student as you are, who can understand all the side effects of these addictive products. They are addictive products, and that's why they are doing more harm than good. Thank you.
Layla, right?
Yes. I'm Youmna.
You're Youmna, she's Layla.
Yes.
Right, yeah, I meant Layla.
Sorry. I just wanted to touch upon your point quickly on 2011. You brought up such a great point. And you talked about like how social media, 2011 and soda and like the revolution and practically like many revolutions that happen around the world wouldn't happen if social media. I watched this whole documentary about that. Like, I don't remember his name, I don't remember his name, but with the advancement of Facebook and these like political divides, that's the reason. And people like abroad who want to like start like turmoil and stuff like that, where do they go to? They go to social media to spread false news, to talk about how bad the country is or whatever, to like try to get things exacerbated. I also wanted to touch upon a point that Aish over here, like slightly touch upon. You touched about identity. A lot of people use social media from a very young age. I started using social media as soon as I got into high school, 14 years old. Your brain is still developing and you are absorbing things like a sponge. And a lot of times people make social media their own identity. Social media is great, lovely, there's great things, but you having something that could be so positive, yet so very negative, impacts you while your brain is still developing and you're seeing things. And of course, I mean, here described pornography and all these things are so readily accessible to you with like one click. That's dangerous. That's very dangerous for the human brain. And like psychologically, just to think that like your 14-year-old child or your 14-year-old sibling might be in the room watching God knows what, and then they come down and have dinner with you and you don't know what's going on. And so that's just a very scary concept. Now, of course, a lot of people talk about social media, that's your choice if you want to watch this stuff or stuff like that. But certain things just pop up in your feed and like, unfortunately, you're interested in it. Things like that, things that people tell you you are not supposed to watch. Well, why am I not supposed to watch it? I want to know, I want to figure it out. So then you go in and going down this downward spiral, absolutely crazy. Another point about identity is that like people project a certain identity on social media that completely might be true, might be fake, might be somewhat in between. I don't know if there was a show, fortunately I do not remember this, but it would be this guy who would impersonate like a 12-year-old or 13-year-old boy and would talk to girls on social media and then ask them later on, would they like to hang out? And the girl would be like, sure, why not? And so she would leave or lie to her parents at like 9 o'clock. And her parents are all well aware of this because it's like a simulation. She would go out and he would come in a truck and he would kidnap her, but her parents would be there in the truck and everything. And that just shows you how scary. Now, I'm certainly bringing in extremes, but I know a lot of us, and unfortunately me included, you get these like requests from random people. They're like, hey, how are you doing? You're like, who the heck are you? But then you're like, maybe, because they touch upon this, like these people on social media that are there to do bad things to people, always target certain things. I got Facebook, I got over like 150 requests from the most random human people on earth with like pictures of like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. And I'm like, I know you're not Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. And they're always sending me messages being like, hey, how are you doing? So social media is great, lovely and stuff like that. And I know this is not going to happen to people like in 40-year-old, but as a generation right now, and as the upcoming 4th generation, kids who are seeing all of this stuff and have probably not had enough experiences or like no like way to deal around all of this, have access to all of that. And all of that is just purely scary and dangerous. And the fact that like parents and things and like adults in charge who might not know of how dangerous their kids might be going is like, that's a whole other thing. So thank you.
We're gonna have to wrap it up soon. I want to get Youmna back in here and then a final voice we haven't heard from yet, and then we're going to have to wrap it up. Go ahead, Youmna.
I just want to add something about the influence part. Okay. Okay.
Ali, success. Everybody's addressing you.
Okay. Who here has heard of the Johnny Depp trial?
What?
Johnny
Depp trial.
All of you guys, everyone. Okay, were you guys interested before you heard about it? Never. Did you ever think, oh my God, what's happening between these two? Right? No. But then it showed up on our feeds and we're like, okay, wow, this is interesting. Oh my God, did she actually say that? Right? We were influenced directly by the show of it on social media. We know that it's showing up. We know it's there. We know it's happening. But we are not interested unless it's there. It's present. Okay? Now, how many of you sided with? How many of you sided with the wife? Ever heard? Yeah. No one, right? Okay, why? That is why.
Although I sided with
before, but after.
Like, I didn't really care about it, but I always sided with her because everyone was like making her like a demon.
See, this is the point that I'm trying to get at. We all collectively think the emperor was bad, right? Because of what we were shown on social media. Was bad. We were watching and we were like, oh, she's bad, right? Because everyone collectively thought she's bad, right? But then, what's his name? Yassine was watching and he was like, okay, everyone's against her. Why is everyone against her? And he thought about it logically. Besides what we were watching, he didn't think about the emotion. He didn't think about how he's being influenced. He didn't think about, oh, no, that's thinking that, and I want to be friends with her. Okay, so I'll think that as well, right? He wasn't thinking that. He was thinking, he was thinking on logic, besides emotion, besides the influence that we were all getting. He was, okay, why is everyone hating her? And he looked at it objectively, and turns out she's not really the bad one. We were both equally bad. In fact, I don't side with them. I did during the trial, but after the trial, I was like, oh my God, what is this? Why did I do that? Right? That's how we all felt. That's how we all.
Sorry, Ali. Sorry. You've had plenty of time. Okay, you sir, and then we're gonna have to wrap it up. I'm sorry.
My name is Ahmed Alam, and I'd like to touch on a point you said. No, not you. I'll come to you, but you first. You said a very controversial statement. Humans are evil by nature. Yes. I don't agree with the statement, but I can say that anyone sitting on that side where it feels that social media has more harm than good, I can say that you're looking at it with a very negative mindset. Things like what she said, your name, Moniat. Yes. Things like what she said that people are linked together. You even said you're contradicting yourself by saying that people from the north and south are connected.
I'm in depression.
Even so, like, can I ask each one of you a question that how are we all in this room right now? Like, isn't it through email? And I also agree with Danny here.
Before that, there were those wall magazines. Yes.
Do you think if these wall magazines were here, this number and people that left would be here right now? If it wasn't through social media.
Very برضه يعني subjective to everyone. عشان في ناس جايه assignment في ناس
Okay. We have to wrap it.
I can by saying there are harms and there are benefits, but things like morphine, for example. Morphine. I come from a family of all surgeons. Morphine is a chemical that's used to really help people's lives and save a lot of lives. But other people use it in a very bad way. So we should just neglect morphine and not use it at all. I don't really think that if something has benefits and something has harm, just because of the harms, we shouldn't use it at all. Maybe we could use it with regulation because someone hears that.
Doctor, last remark, I swear.
I'm sorry, Ali. I'm sorry, Ali. Because class is starting in 7 minutes.
It's 7 minutes. I'm not gonna take a minute of your time.
Just starting in 7 minutes. So I mean, I think, and you've had plenty of time. I think if anybody would get supported. Thank you so much to all of you for coming. We hope to replicate this. I have to say that, like, I feel even better about this, seeing the interest in the thinking. So, thanks to all of you for coming. Thanks, enjoyed it. Thanks for coming. I'm sorry.